All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that you've got some decent weather out there today. Guys, what is going on out there today? Thanks for joining me and the great Jeff Jacklich right there. Yeah, he's getting organized at the Western Lawn Tennis Club in Pontiac, Michigan for 5 months of some good stuff with boy. I mean, I'm glad. I mean, I know that you're glad to be there, and you're grateful and thankful for having this gig. It's been a lot of fun. But boy, how lucky are those people to have you there, JJ?
We're going to find out. Hopefully, hopefully it becomes a really mutual, agreeable situation.
That's right. No, I think
I'm hoping they're
going to have such a great time. I mean, the tennis is going to be fun for them, and I know you're going to help a lot of players enjoy the game of tennis more, whether or not they want to actually get better or just go out there and have a great time with their buddies and get some good exercise. But I know the social component that you are going to deliver to this club is going to be a lot of fun. And I wonder, why don't more tennis directors or head pros or teaching pros embrace the fact that, part of your job is to bring this Jeff Jacklich type of personality to the job and make it fun. Stop being so freaking serious about, we got to get that. I got 30 minutes next Thursday to get that windshield wiper forehand going, Mr. Smith, or Ms. Jones. How about this? How about like a burgers and buddies type of doubles thing on Thursday night for, a couple of hours and spend a lot of time off the court making that event incredible.
Yeah.
And make this thing fun.
Have a little fun.
Yes.
I think that's always a challenge is the contradiction of league tennis, as much as that's supposed to be fun.
Ooh.
I think that adds an element to it. My personal opinion is, some of the traditional elements of club tennis have been kind of kicked to the curb. And that's unfortunate because there's a loss, I think, of some really great club traditions. And the idea of the pickup game at the club on a Saturday morning, and I'm not saying every club, there are a lot of clubs out there that still are able to produce that. And I think that's fantastic. But I think a lot of clubs have lost that flavor of that, just that camaraderie of member to member camaraderie in general.
I am so lucky because being a lifelong member of the Berkeley Tennis Club, growing up there in the 50s and 60s and 70s, you saw exactly what you described. You saw members showing up without a pre-scheduled, prearranged match, and they would find someone, and the next thing you know is, everyone's kind of waiting around because all 10 courts are full, and it's not a reservation system. It's a first come, first serve. And once the red light or whatever, the green light or the flag goes up, it's a notice to all the players, hey, you got to finish up after 2 sets because we got people waiting. But the best part about it was being able to sit, and if you're waiting to go in the court, is sit and socialize and chew the fat and have, and so to spend that time as one of the benefits of being a member, whether it's a private club or whether it's a public facility, to me, it kind of gets back to that tennis director, to that head pro. Are you promoting that kind of environment? Are you promoting that I'm not saying that, hey, if you're a 4-5 guy that you've got to always be, saying to the 3-0 guy who's just starting out, hey, let's go play a couple sets. No.
Right.
But your job as the tennis director, head pro, ought to be to spend some time off the teaching court where you're not generating income, and it ought to be as a way to help those members come together and kind of help solve the old age problem in tennis, which is I can't find a suitable opponent.
Right.
So,
and that's unfortunate because now everything is scheduled down to the minute. Practices, clinics, the team this, the team that. I think so. it's unfortunate that I think there's a flavor that has, like I said, been kind of kicked to the curb. The other flavor that's missing, I think, too, is as a junior player in NorCal, growing up, in Santa Clara and Palo Alto, you were at the club all day. You got there, and that's where you were. So you were hitting balls in some form or fashion all day long.
That's right.
Not in a clinic, not in a private lesson. Maybe you had a private lesson on the weekend, and then the other, 6-7 hours at the club. Yeah, you were swimming, you were doing this, but then somebody got the bug up their butt, and like, let's go, and we're out on the court hitting for 2-3 hours, and then sometimes you're out there as a 14-year-old filling in with some of the guys, some of the men, right?
Right.
I mean, Jeff, we need a fourth, and you kind of get introduced into the adult play. And now you're seeing a whole bunch of different styles of play. You're seeing balls getting hacked and spun and chopped and this and that, and you have to learn to accept that there's more than one way to hit a ball, and you learn a lot by being in those situations. And I think there's some of that flavor has gone too, that where the juniors are actually, playing with the adults in some form or fashion. Family tennis. I grew up public courts. It was a family sport. Yeah. I'm the youngest of 4 kids. 4 rackets and 3 hairless tennis balls with cheap entertainment. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah. Hairless tennis balls. It sounds like a canine breed.
Right, but it was a family sport.
Yeah.
And Dad, Mom took the time to toss balls to us, and it was the wall hitting against the wall, and so I think there's a lot of that that just organic learning that is no longer kind of encouraged, promoted, taught, or just the environment that allows that to happen or encourages that to happen is just so few and far between now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think a lot of tennis pros, a lot of tennis directors out there are kind of looking at the dollar sign, as everyone sort of has a dollar sign in their head, and they're kind of thinking, well, if I'm not going to get you out for a lesson, then I just don't want to spend that much time off the court. So to me, it's like that. I think clubs make a mistake when they don't hire first a personality, someone who has that personality they really want. They want to give, right? It's not about them. The ego is checked out as soon as they get out of their car in the parking lot and walk through those, the doors to the club. The ego is gone, and it's not about you. It's about your members, and making sure that your members feel like every day that they're there, every moment that it's all about them. It's about their experience. So we've quickly gotten off topic here, Jeff.
Did we ever have a topic?
Well, I do have one. I wrote one down, and but anyway, I was just congratulating the members of the Western Lawn Tennis Club for being able to have you, and I think they're gonna really have a great time. And so anyway, let's get on to today's topic. Before we do,
let's get to it.
Guys, again, thanks for hanging out with us today over at Gold Ball Hunting. Another episode of the daily podcast that you and I are producing, becoming a little bit more of a challenge now that we're in completely different time zones. I'm still in the Pacific. You're in the Eastern, which, by the way, the Pacific time zone in the desert today, we're getting to triple digits here today.
Ouch!
And I just happen to have a match scheduled over at PGA West on the clay at 1:30. So it's going to be pack
a lunch.
It's going to be. I'm looking at my guy. I'll keep looking at my guy and kind of going, "Are you feeling it? You feeling it? Okay." Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, listen, guys, we're still offering a free private 10-minute coaching call. And it's just the 3 of us, you, me, and Jeff. We get in a phone. It's a conference call, 3-way call, and we talk about that number one thing in your game that you're just struggling with. That if you knew that if you could figure that one thing out, could be the big domino. It could just knock over all those other little dominoes, and you might start getting the result that you want. The way to get onto that free private 10-minute coaching call is goldballhunting.com. Put in the first name, email address, click the button, and you'll get immediate access to our online calendar scheduler where you get to cherry pick the date and time that works best for you. So, Jeff, what I want to ask you about today is, we always kick around this thing about, what's holding you back? What's holding you back
Right.
from really getting the result you want? And there's a lot of reasons why people are holding themselves back. But there are some
Right.
reasons, and I think it's kind of a small minority, but there are guys and gals who are working full time, 5 days a week, 5.5 days a week. Maybe their spouse is doing the same. It's a 2-person income family. They've got 3 young kids. And it's not real that they can find the time,
Right.
unless they're like an entrepreneur at home and they can, whatever. So I think there are a few legit reasons, but I also think that those players who do have the time could be, as we've talked recently, they could be just working on the wrong stuff and
Right.
kind of just getting in a log jam. But I think even if you're wall-to-wall work, wall-to-wall family, there's no time, I still think everyone could carve out 15 minutes a day off of the tennis court. That would mean at home.
Yeah.
Well, how can you practice at home? How can you practice in the office? What can we do, Jeff, 15 minutes a day if we don't have access to a tennis court that would actually help us get the result that we want?
How do you do that? I know. Let's carve out a place where we can quiet, and you can shut a door for start with 5 minutes. I mean, 15 minutes is actually, if you try to sit there for 15 minutes your first time, it's gonna be difficult. Doing any form of visualization, meditation, is a very it's a skill. And so let's not mince words here. It's a skill, and it takes practice to actually get your mind to focus consistently and steadily on a one track for any length of time. We get distracted by any little thing, and so it does take practice. So you might have to build up to 15 minutes to 20 minutes to get to a point where you can actually kind of feel what you're visualizing, so that your body actually feels what it is you're thinking about. So the easiest way, I think, the great starting point is, instead of getting down to the minutia of hitting a tennis ball, trying to, like, in your mind think about how you swing, is one of the easiest things to do. And I can't even count how many full sets I've played in meditation, where I'm just sitting comfortably in a chair, lounge chair, my bed, whatever, quiet, maybe some spa music or, meditative music that actually has binaural beats in the underneath, which helps the mind move into another state. And then I would play sets, literally, from serving, coming in, split step, hit the first volley, split step, and I would see myself play perfect points, one after the other. I have never lost a point in my mind's eye playing sets. It's just not. That's just the way I do it.
Yeah.
But it takes practice to do it, and so you might try to play 4 games your first time, or 2 games, because it does take practice to do it. I mean, it's not like I said, it's a skill set. But that would be for me an easy introduction, is to first get comfortable and find a place, because the activity in your mind of seeing yourself play a point perfectly is probably a little easier to imagine and to get, and probably easier to actually kind of feel the experience of actually doing it. And that's really how you're actually gaining ground, when you physically start to actually experience the sensation of hitting that perfect volley. You know exactly how it feels, and you start to feel those things in your body. And this is not woo-woo stuff.
Yeah.
This is documented, scientific, studies with heart monitors and brain scans, and this is legit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so.
Well, look,
So
I think that's great advice. Is what I would suggest is to add maybe another element to that 15 minutes. And you're saying just start off with the 5 minutes of the visualization part of it. And one thing I would say about the visualization part of it is that the first few times you try this, it's a mess.
yeah,
It's just really messy because
totally.
and unless you're a skilled meditator or unless you're a skilled visualizer, when you start off, it's just such a foreign feeling to you that you have to, at least for me, what I have to do is I know that if I stick to it every day for maybe a week, it might take a week, it might take 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. I don't know. It's different for everybody. But
Right.
you have to kind of get through that first part to where this feels comfortable. This feels real. Sometimes when you start visualizing stuff, it just feels so, I won't say creepy, but it doesn't feel realistic. And I think the more you do it, the more you kind of settle into it and get comfortable with it. And the other thing I would tell you too is that when you're visualizing, one thing I like to do is I like to see in my mind's eye the ball traveling a certain height over the top of the net.
Right.
Kind of like, this is what I want to recreate when I get out there on the court. And, rather than me thinking, well, I want to win every point, certainly it's good to sort of set up point scenarios where you end up winning the point. But I want to make sure that the players don't think that when they get out in the court, that you've got to be focused on winning every point when you're on the court, because that's what you've done when you're visualizing. So for me, it's more about, can I see the ball? If in my mind's eye, if I'm hitting a forehand, can I see it traveling a certain height over the top of the net? And so
you want to see every detail. You want to be detail oriented and see the shape that you want to hit in your mind's eye. See that come off the strings.
Yeah.
Feel it. I just hit a topspin roller.
Right.
Feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine what that feels like. I just stuck the perfect backhand volley. I just went back and covered a really deep overhead and let the ball bounce and got underneath it, and I hit a good, not some unrealistic 100-mile-an-hour dinger, but you know what? I hit kind of a spin serve off of the bounce on a deep overhead. That's a legit shot that more players should probably try to hit rather than trying to end the point from back there. But that's a different subject.
Well, look, I think the other way to spin.
It has to be.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It has to be tangible.
Yeah.
When you first start this, you don't want to look for something that is so off the reservation that you can't even really quite imagine it. Know your skill set, right? Imagine yourself, things that are already in your wheelhouse, things that you already know you can do. Start with those things, and then it becomes easier to imagine those things that you'd like to improve. So don't start out like, I'm imagining I'm playing Federer and I'm winning every point perfectly by hitting a forehand that you don't actually hit.
Or that you take your forehand and hit it, and it somehow beats Fed.
Right, you know what I mean. So you gotta, it takes time. It takes time to find that.
So look, I think the other thing that players could do besides the visualization is they could find a video model of what it is. So for example, if you're trying to work on your serve, on your topspin serve, second serve, it's got a nice decent bounce. Doesn't have to be a kicker, but it's got a nice high bounce. Worst case, the point's neutral. Is to find a model, find a video model that makes sense, that you could actually recreate. If you're looking for who's got a crazy, there's so many pros out there that have got these crazy,
right. Well, you
pretzel body. Find the model, get that video, turn off the sound. So there's no instruction. You're not getting distraction with audio, and just watch that thing for a couple minutes. Just watch it, and to me, then you can sit back and kind of do some visualizing on that particular stroke. But I think it would be pretty easy to chew up 15 minutes pretty fast with some off-court stuff. And I just we've said this a lot of times, Jeff, that there aren't enough people in the tennis industry who are promoting off-court training.
Right.
And I don't mean off-court in terms of the physical stuff in the gym. I'm talking about
the mental side of it, taking time to actually meditate on stroke improvement, strategy, tactics, playing your top 7 patterns in your mind's eye. The inside out, the inside out, the inside in. What does that look like? And what do I see myself doing in that, in those patterns? And so that also, again, is you're learning the patterns without actually being on the court, because you will do it. You will do it. And again, I'm going to say it one more time. This is legit. The studies show it. This is not some, pie in the sky idea.
Right.
You are actually building the same neural pathways as if you were actually on the court when you do meditation like this. You're building the same neural pathways as if you were actually on the court. So.
No question. I think the other thing, too, is I think it's important to, and I've done this where I've visualized, it's a big point in a match, really big point in a match, and I've got the upper hand. And the next thing you know is I chunk a pretty easy one, or the guy hits an incredibly lucky shank forehand that ends up being a topspin lob winner. Right? And how am I going to react to that situation? Well, I know how I used to react, and it was the recipe for losing.
Right.
So. And one of the things I kind of look at on when I'm watching matches on the tennis channel, like this morning, I'm watching the stuff at the Italian Open in Rome, and you're watching these incredibly tight matches on the red clay where all the guys are so equal, and you get the upper hand for the second, and the next thing you know is you lose a point, and now you've lost control of the match. And I watch these guys, and if I can you can sense they're just, God, but they don't show it. Right. They don't show it. And here they are in the big bowl there in Rome on the Italian court, and there's marble everywhere and statues with, anyway. But what I'm saying is that the intensity is so high. Right. That I think for the rest of us that we never are in that intense a situation in match play, and yet, how do we handle those responses when we, in a close match? And to me, I like to visualize that for myself. I've just chunked an easy volley. How am I going to, not take the racket and make it aerodynamic and have it, take off and hit the back fence. So, anyway, good stuff today, Jeff. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us again, and. Just a quick reminder, free 10-minute private coaching call. We're here. We're here to serve you. Go to goldballhunting.com, first name, email address, drop those in, then click the button, and then you'll get access to the online calendar where you get to pick the date and time that works for you, not for us, but for you. So, Jeff, at this point of the podcast episode, number 120-something, woo-hoo. What would we like the fine folks to do right now?
We'd love to have you like us, share us. Please subscribe. Let us know what you think down below. We'd like to hear from you.
Outstanding. Guys, get out there today in 100-plus degree weather. Have a good match on the clay at 1:30 and help someone else have a spectacular day. Jeff, we'll do this again tomorrow.
Can't wait.